You guys enjoying today? Very good. Yes, I am Middle Eastern. Middle of what and east of where? I don't know. But seriously, I'm from the Middle East. What I know exactly that growing up in the Middle East, there are two terms that I strongly could not stand. The first term is peace process. The second term is foreign aid. I grew up with 5 sisters and 3 brothers in a refugee camp in Bethlehem called the Haitian refugee camp. We heard the term peace process on the mainstream media, by politicians, and on the radio. Whenever we heard that term, the next morning we woke up with more violence, more bombing, more tragedy on the ground. This is how the peace process looked like to me. I know I'm looking from a window for some peace, but I know I'm not safe. I know I'm not in a safe environment. I'm determined this will not be the reality in the future for my children. And this how peace will be for my children. People from different ethnicities, kids, Muslims, Christians, joined together to create a peaceful environment. Because peace is not a process. Peace is a value. It's a gift we share, we give to each other. Like violence, bombing, hate, it's man's made. Also peace, it's a gift people give to each other. It's not from God. I'm determined this will be the reality in Palestine. Like my father was determined. His children will live in peace, and his father before him. Let me share some of my grandfather's story. In 1948, the war outbreaks were happening all over my grandfather's village outside Jerusalem. In that time, too, my grandmother was pregnant with her first child. My grandfather decided that his first newborn child will not be born in an unsafe environment. My grandfather, along with my grandmother, they packed up their things, they went outside, they closed the door to their house, and they prayed to God. In 2 weeks, the war will end, and we will come back to our house with our newborn child to a safe, peaceful home. My grandfather, and my grandmother started their journey from Jerusalem to Bethlehem. Bethlehem at that time was a safe place. And also it's a traveling distance from Jerusalem. In the way to Bethlehem, from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, crossing the olive groves, the small little villages in the way, my grandmother began going into labor. My grandfather took my grandmother to a nearby cave. That's where she gave birth to her first son. It was not the idealist place, but if Jesus was born in a cave, I guess it's good for everybody, right? Decades later, that's where in Bet Sahur, that's where my father was born, their firstborn child. Decades later, in 1987, the first intifada started, the first uprising in the Palestinian territories. At that time, my mother was pregnant. At that time, there was no escaping. My mother and my father, they walked from the Haitian refugee camp to the hospital, 10 miles. They put their lives in risk so that my mom can give a birth to her son. And here I am. My parents, they risked their life to see me. And they also tried to provide a loving, peaceful home. And they pushed me, and they sent me to the best education I could have in Bethlehem. I went to Dar al-Kalima school. What's unique about that school, it pushed you to ask questions, not accept life. That's what it is in Bethlehem. During my high school time, I joined a Minnesota peace program called Arc for Peace. They bring Palestinians, Lithuanians, youth from Guatemala, Native Americans, African Americans, and Caucasian Americans. In the program, as much as I enjoyed the similarities we had, as much as I enjoyed the differences we had as youth from different cultures and different ethnicities. In Arc for Peace, I met a family from Minnesota. That family broke all the stereotypes I had about Americans growing up in the Middle East. I loved them as much as they loved me. After I finished my high school, this wonderful family from Minnesota, they asked me, where do you want to go to college? But because the limited resources my parents in Bethlehem had, I could not go to college. I told them I don't have any top 5 choices. They asked me if I would like to come here to Minnesota and go to college here. I did come here. I went to Normandale Community College for 2 years. Then I went to St. Cloud State University. My American family, they loved me. They encouraged me to open my mind and open my heart and find opportunities to push myself beyond what I can do. Last spring, after I finished my fourth year in college, I joined a program called the New Story Leadership, where they bring 5 Palestinians and 5 Israelis to live and work together in Washington, D.C. In the program, I met Lior, my host brother. Lior came from the opposite side of the conflict. We lived together with a host family in Washington, D.C., in the city of politics. I'll leave it to your imagination. People from 2 different sides of the conflict living in the city of politics. We did cry. We did scream at each other. But there were 2 things that we had strongly in common. First, we both loved the 4th of July barbecue. After we read the Constitution in the morning and we participated in the 4th of July parade, we had a very good 4th of July barbecue. The second thing we had strongly in common, we both did not like that we grew up in the conflict, and we want our children to live in peace. Lior and I became a very good friends because we lived with a wonderful family in Washington, D.C. that made us touch the humanity level in each other before we see the differences that we had. Lior had a great idea called Shades, to bring young professionals from Palestine and young professionals from Israel to study negotiation and dispute resolution. I loved the idea. Lior called it Shades. Why Shades? Because there is a huge gray area between black and white. There is a huge gray area in the conflict that people don't see. They don't want to question. There's no critical thinkers. And we want to push these young professionals to be critical thinkers. We loved the idea. We were very passionate about it. And we managed to get professors from Harvard, from other universities, to donate their time and effort to teach 10 Palestinians and 10 Israelis negotiation and dispute resolution. In March 2013, the first 10 Palestinians and the first 10 Israelis started studying negotiation and dispute resolution by great professors who donated their time. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that wonderful? Now let's go back to the second term, foreign aid. They told me growing up in Palestine, Palestine is a foreign aid economy. In Palestine, we have hundreds of non-profit organizations, non-governmental organizations. These non-profit organizations, most of them, had a political agenda, had a religious agenda. They go to Palestine or the Middle East and they create a sense of segregation. When a certain organization had a political or religious ideology and they come to help people based on the ideology, not based on their creativity and productivity, we are creating a sense of segregation in our community. There is no sense of neighboring anymore. We're not different religious and we share a community together. We are segregated from each other. And these nonprofit organizations also, they created a sense of inflation in our community. When you are an American getting paid according to the American standard living, and you live in Palestine, where the average salary is less than $10,000 a year, there's people who had very strong purchasing power, and others, they don't have any purchasing power. We had a sense of inflation in Palestine. We also had 2 sectors in our community. The very rich, who can buy anything, and the very poor, who cannot buy anything. We wanted to find a solution. We decided to create a crowdfunding platform where young Palestinians, young professionals from Palestine, and young professionals from Israel, they have great projects, creative projects. Musicians, artists, entrepreneurs, they come to this platform and they present their ideas using videos or write about their projects. And people from all around the world, they start donating and pledging money for these creative projects. Why crowdfunding? That's a very good question. Crowdfunding, first, there's 3 reasons why we chose crowdfunding. The first is crowdfunding award creativity and productivity without looking at ideology, religious ideology, or political ideology. The second, we're not taking the people's job. We are just awarding them from outside. And the third reason, we are creating a coexistence relationship. When you are a Palestinian and you have a great, productive project, and you are an Israeli and have a great, productive project, when you realize each other's creativity and productivity, we are creating a coexistence relationship. We need to exist to coexist. We need to realize each other's existence so we can coexist. And that's why we chose crowdfunding. By the way, this is my family in Bethlehem, my father and my mother. This is my wonderful family in Minnesota. And this is Lior and I with my host mother in Washington, D.C. This is my family. And my family in Bethlehem, in Minnesota, in D.C., they all my family. I belong to all of them. President Obama recently gave a historical speech in Jerusalem. He said, peace begins not just in the plans of leaders, but in the hearts of people, not just in carefully designed process, but in the daily connection that take place among those who live together in this land. President Obama, we heard your speech once and twice and 3 times. We are young Americans, Ian from Minnesota, Lauren from St. Cloud, and we are young Palestinians, Imad from Bethlehem, Mary from Ramallah, and I. And we are young Israelis, Lior from Tel Aviv, and Guy from Tel Aviv. And we are powerful, and we are not powerless. And we will make his speech reality in the ground. Recently, in one of my favorite shows, The Daily Show, Jon Stewart said, when it comes to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, we are powerless. We are not powerless. We are young Americans, young Palestinians, young Israelis, and we are powerful. We know where to go from here, and we will create a difference. And our children in the future, they will live in peace. This is my grandfather. My grandfather, before I left to the United States of America, he took me to the side. He told me, Walid, you're smart. You are passionate. I want to give you something very special to my heart. My grandfather gave me this. This is the key that he closed his door with in 1948 before he became a refugee. My grandfather never had the chance to open a home, a peaceful home, and he raised his children in. This key is not only from the past. This key, what motivates me and push me today to work really hard, and what's going to unlock the potential of peace in the future between Palestine and Israel. Thank you so much.